The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's 1 p.m. here in Singapore. And for those in later time zones, good morning to you. The topic for today is 23 plus 1 tips and tricks in BricsCAD, the classic way. So we'll be discussing how to make your CAD software work with you efficiently. We'll be looking into how we can save time and improve performance through automation by taking advantage of AI tools. And I'm glad to present this topic and share some knowledge on how to streamline our process and raise productivity. So my name is Claire Lee Florentino. I am an architect, and currently I am with Bricsys as a technical consultant for the APAC region. So my email contact is here. You can note it down for any correspondences or questions that you may have. So I'll just discuss very quickly the agenda for today. So I'll just introduce what is Bricsys, what is BricsCAD, and then we'll go straight away to the tips and tricks. And of course, +1 is a bonus feature. And then we'll go and just have a quick look what's beyond classic. And let's see some case studies, and let's have a Q&A at the end if you have any questions. So who is Bricsys? What is BricsCAD? We are a global provider of cost-effective modern CAD software, BIM, mechanical design, and we also have a common data environment. Everything here is brought to market under the BricsCAD brand. So as of a couple of years ago, Hexagon has acquired Bricsys. So Bricsys is now a part of Hexagon AB, a $20 billion publicly traded technology group. And there are about 300,000 Bricsys product users in over 110 countries. Bricsys is headquartered in Belgium with over 200 employees in about 8 countries and rapidly growing. So here's just a footprint of where we are in the world. So as you can see, we're rapidly increasing in Asia Pacific, and you can see that the APAC headquarters has been established in Singapore in 2020, so just early this year, but Singapore has been a development center since 2013. And here are some of our clients. These are from different segments and industries. And of course, I think you're very familiar with some of the names here. And for the next slide, I'll just show you, of course, a few others that we have in the AEC, manufacturing, there's a facade segment, plant, and others as well. So very familiar names here. So we believe that BricsCAD is the future of DWG. Why is this? BricsCAD is the modern, familiar, and cost-effective computer-aided design platform for everyone who designs, builds, and manufactures things. So everything in BricsCAD is a DWG file format, which is why we say that it's the future of DWG. So here are the design platforms here of BricsCAD. So we have Classic, Pro, Platinum, Mechanical, and BIM. And as you can see, I've highlighted here Classic because for today, this is the focus of our discussion. So as you can see, we've described a bit here and there each level of license that you may want to explore. Classic is focusing mostly on the 2D drafting functionalities. You have Pro for 3D modeling, Platinum if you want to go parametric modeling. We have Mechanical as well for product design and manufacturing. And of course, we have BIM. So that's a whole other discussion there. But for today, we'll just focus on Classic. And as you can see, everything is connected to Bricsys 24/7, which is the common data environment that we have. So just to go on here, we have BricsCAD offering a familiar 2D CAD interface, which is a fresh approach in terms of going into how we do our workflow and process, but everything will be still familiar in terms of using the software. So there's no need for long training sessions. You already know how to use BricsCAD actually, if you've been in the industry for a while. So we know that for us, BricsCAD is best for 2D drafting. It's the fastest path to accurate 2D build and manufacturing documentation. So we take DWG to a whole new level, faster, more accurate, and with the help of machine learning and AI, which is a bit of what we're going to be showing also for some of the things that we're going to show today. So let's go ahead here and go and dive into the 23 plus 1 tips and tricks that we can have in BricsCAD. So number 1 is customization. So we bring in your UI if you need to, your list routines, setups, and more. So if you have company standards with these things like your sheet sets, page setups, ribbons, menus, you don't have to worry about it, and you can still use them and just bring it into BricsCAD. So for the next one, I'll just go ahead and open BricsCAD itself. So as you can see here, I'm just on a drafting mode, which is the classic that we have. And now we'll go ahead and just open two drawings for us. Just a blank drawing here. So I have here BricsCAD open, and as you can see, we have a dark interface on the top, and this is on your workspace, something that you may want to be in a darker mode or be whatever you're more familiar with. So what I'm going to do now is just show you one very easy thing that we can do inside BricsCAD. If you go into your settings, which is for BricsCAD is options, basically, you'll be given this dialog box. And normally for your settings, you'll have to know exactly where you want to go to, for example, like your display or rendering or whatever item you're looking for. But in BricsCAD, you're actually able to search. Like for example, here, you just enter and search what you want to find. For example, I want to change my background color, right? I don't even need to write down the entire word, and I can go ahead and just search for it. It will help me search what I want to search. Like example, this one. I'm now in the background color, and I can quickly just set that to black if that's my preference, and that's it. So this searchable options bar inside settings is a big help. So you don't need to waste your time to find certain information if you don't, of course, we know how busy we all are in this industry. So just to have a quick look also here, as you can see, everything is quite familiar. You have your ribbons here on top. You have your panels here on the side. And you have your command line here on the lower left side. So everything is quite familiar. You don't have to be scared of BricsCAD. And in terms of commands, everything is also quite the same. So right now, I'll just use L for line, and that's an ortho right now. You can also click on these things that are settings here on below. So ortho there, I'll just switch that off for now. And rec for rectangle, C for circle, and just use PL for polyline. So, you know, this is very, very easy and comfortable in terms of what you're used to with your commands or your settings. And if you want to switch those as well and customize those shortcuts that you have, what you're used to, you can of course also do that. Now, when I was drawing any of these entities that I have here in front of me, you notice that I'm just drawing randomly like this. But what if I wanted to know the dimensions while I was drawing? I can actually just switch on this dynamic dimensions here on the bottom right. And what will happen is that I can zoom out here. I can just maybe want to make a rectangle. And now I can see dynamic dimensions in front of me, which I can input information on. So let me just put this as maybe 500, and I can toggle here and maybe just put the other side as 400 if that I am wanting to draw there, and just enter, and you can quickly have your specific entity that you want. So this dynamic dimension will really save time for you as well. You immediately know what you are drawing in terms of your measurements. So one other thing that we have here, if for example, I draw a line, I am able to also see that dimension and even the angle that I'm drawing on. And if I turn off the ortho, you'll see that angle is also changing with me. So again, this is something to show that how useful this dynamic dimensions is inside BricsCAD. So while you're drawing, you're already figuring out also how wide or how big, how long your dimensions will be. So another thing that is quite useful inside of BricsCAD is, if we just maybe focus on this rectangle for now, is something we call rollover tips. So if you just turn that on, you will see that if I hover here, I will see that I'm given this information that this is a polyline, what color it is, what layer it is, and I can get the length here, area as well, just a very basic information. But of course, if you want even more information, you can of course go to properties panel if that's what you're comfortable with, or if there's anything else that you are looking for. So that's there. And then that so the properties panel is a more exhaustive, basically, list of information that you need. So another thing that we have inside BricsCAD is the hotkey assistant. So right now, I'm just hovering on this one, and you see the rollover tip, right? And then if I just turn on this HKA, which is the hotkey assistant, and if I hover here, I am given these settings just below. If you can see that, it's appearing below. And I am able to just toggle here by using control. It also gives you the information of what you need to click. And you can toggle and see that I'm just being able to select the polyline segment, which is also given to me by the rollover tip right here. So for example, in terms of offsetting this, if I want to offset something at about, maybe I did it at 500, maybe I want to offset something at 100, then select this. And if you see, again, that's giving me that information. And it doesn't mean that if once you're offsetting something, you can still focus on what you were trying to select initially, even if it's the same entity that you just copied over or offset it somewhere. So how is this useful to us, this hotkey assistant? If I hover over this rectangle here, as you saw earlier, and I toggle here as this polyline segment, this brings us to another one of our tricks here inside BricsCAD. Right now, I'm only seeing the rollover tip with all this information. There's another thing inside BricsCAD that we can use. Here on my lower right side, if you see that, this is the quad. I can turn it on. And once I hover here, I am given the information that it's a polyline. Again, all the information in the rollover tips. But I'm also given this other information, which is basically the quad giving me suggestions of what I can do in terms of what I am hovering on right now or selecting. So the quad cursor is an AI machine learning tool. It studies the way you've been using the software. So it suggests possible next tools you may want to use depending on the entity that you've selected. So for example, this polyline, it shows a set of tools for me. And if you see, I can trim, I can lengthen, and all these things. But if I toggle using the hotkey assistant earlier, it's telling me it's a polyline segment, and now it's giving me other suggestions in terms of what I can do. So if, let's say, I want to add a vertex here, I can do that very easily. Just ortho this, and very easily I can do this. And again, the dynamic dimensions are switched on, so I can also put in the specific dimension that I want. So for example, I want this to be 100, then I can just do that. Once I select that next time, that will be there. And I can toggle this as well. So these are just very simple tools and some AI machine learning tools that we can use inside BricsCAD to make us more productive, not necessarily mind-boggling things also, not difficult to use. It's just one click and it shows you a whole thing, a whole lot of things that you can do. So the quad is also something that you can make appear just by right-clicking on an empty space here. You don't necessarily have to go and hover over something. You can just right-click somewhere. It will also appear for you. So that's the quad. So for example, we also have something that we have encountered. People are quite familiar with how they use the right click anywhere on their workspace. So if they right click, they expect something that they would see a menu of on their snap options and all these things. So what you can do inside BricsCAD, instead of right clicking, you can actually shift and right click and you will still get the list of things and options that you're used to before. So there are just a few more options for you. It's just adding to your productivity as well. It really depends on what you prefer to use. So we are following what you want in your workflow and your process as well. So what I have here is also on my upper right side is our look from. So this look from is like a view cube. You might not think that it's useful for 2D, but if you right click here, it actually gives you also some visual styles. So let's say I do modeling visual style. What this allows me is to do is that I can actually also go to the next step that we have, which is boundary detection. So we have something like a selection mode for our entities. So this one is something that you can use. If you can see my mouse right now, it's on the upper part of my screen. So this one prioritizes selection of edges. This one prioritizes selection of faces, which in 2D might not be so relevant to us, but there is one that enables us to detect boundaries. So this one. So what does this do? So for example, here, if I hover here, it tells me that it's a boundary. And for example, I have another rectangle somewhere here. So just randomly, I am able to detect that surface or that space, basically not necessarily a surface, just wherever that it's bound by lines or any entity, then it will give me this information. And again, I am able to see what the perimeter is, how much area, what area this part cover. And it's not just applicable to rectangles or straight entities. If you have a circle, something like this, very, very obscure here, but you will see that it also works. So basically everything that's bounded, you can see the information in terms of area. That's something that you want to see that information very quickly. Then you can do that with this. So right now, we've covered about 9 already. I'm not sure if you have counted, but I'm just going to recap a bit here. So first was the customization. Then we have the searchable options bar. And then we have our dynamic dimensions, rollover tips, hotkey assistant. We have the quad and our look from, which is the view cube just now, and boundary detection. And aside from this, we can also view 3D models. So let me just go here. So we also have this start, and you can easily see your recent files. So I have a recent file here, which is just a 3D model, a random 3D model. So I'm able to view this even if I'm inside Classic. I'm just able to view and rotate a bit here, see the other parts of this entity. It's just that you won't be able to do any editing or modifications, but if you receive any 3D models, then you will still be able to view the information that you have there, which is again quite useful if you just have probably your teammates giving you some conceptual designs first, or massing, form finding, and such things. So that's the recap. You have covered about 9 there. And then let's just move on to something else. So this is a bit more on the AI side. Again, I will just open a drawing here. So you see, I'm able to open a drawing. I'm also able to create a new drawing right here. I don't necessarily have to go to my menu bar there. So let's go to this. So I also want to show here how quickly you're able to open drawings inside BricsCAD. So what I have here is just a 2D layout drawing of some tanks. Perhaps this is something that you have in your development that you need to detail, or a drawing that you received from another department, or another consultant maybe that you need to process on your side. So what do we have here? This is something that you might not be familiar with if you just receive this drawing. So maybe if you zoom in somewhere, you're trying to find some information probably, and you see this L bracket, and you see when you select these, they're quite exploded. So if I just select the whole L bracket here, and if I go to my properties panel, I will see that, let me see here, I have 12 entities right here. So if you see there, you have 12 entities in this very little part of your drawing, which doesn't really make sense. So if you go in and you think that, oh, this must be a block, this might have been a block actually, and it was exploded. You never know. Sometimes drawings are being passed from one party to another, and you don't know what happens to them. So we see that this L bracket actually is also here and happening here as well, and everything is exploded. And it's also here, somewhere above, and also here, and also here, which is a different direction, a different orientation. So it's really a bit of a messy drawing. Even if it looks fine overall, if you go into it, it might give you some issues or problems later on. So what you want to do is just maybe to make this into a block, right? So what you can do is use Blockify. So what Blockify does is that it gets and reads your drawing based on the geometry, similar geometry of what you have selected. For example, I click the Blockify function and just select what I want to become a block. So I have selected this, and I will just let BricsCAD read the entire drawing basically. So what it does is that it has already made it into a block. And if I hover here, my rollover tips again is quite useful. It's already telling me that it's a block reference. And then if I go to the other ones that we checked earlier, I also see that these have become a block. This is a block. And here, a different orientation, a different direction. They've all become blocks basically. So this is very, very useful, especially if you don't really know where these things are happening in your drawing. And let me go to my properties. Again, you'll see now as a block reference. You can also use your quad and select similar if you want to maybe check where they are in your drawing, and you can zoom into them. And if you want, you can even isolate them so you can see in your entire drawing where they were. So that's Blockify. And another step higher than that would be if, let's say, you have something like this, which is a ladder. So Blockify has another level to it, which is that which it makes arrays for you also if you want. So if I zoom in here, this is just a normal ladder, just line segments. It's all exploded. So my properties panel, I'll see that, select the whole thing. I'll see there are about 15 of these, just steps here of the ladder. And if I use Blockify now, and if I specifically say I want arrays, and select that, let it read the entire drawing, you'll see that all these have been already blocked. Now they're block reference, and they're also an array. So you'll see they're an array. And if I go to another part of my drawing, which has something similar, you'll also see that this has correctly been blockified and is now also an array. And what's also another step that's even further to this, again, more useful, is that you have this on your properties panel, so miscellaneous information. So for example, your columns, say there were 15 of these. You want them to just be 6. You can change it, and it changes for you live. If you want the spacing to be 400, you'll see that it also changes again live for you. So this is just something that's, again, going to be helpful for you to be more productive, more efficient. The repetitive tasks, you don't need to do that. If you had to find all these similar geometry and make them into blocks, then that would have taken you so much time. So Blockify is really a lifesaver, a time saver for us. So this can be as minute as the L bracket that we did, or it can be doors, windows, even plants, as long as they have similar geometry that you want to become a block. So I am just gonna also go ahead and go to the next one. Among our panels here on the right side, if you right click there, you'll have a whole list of other panels that you can add. And one of these is our content browser. So if I click on that, it will give me this panel on my left side of my screen. And then you'll see that you can add a folder. So for example, I'll just add on my desktop, I'll add 23+1 folder, which is today's set. And I'll just select that. And I can see this entire list of drawings already at my fingertips as well. I can just use these to open any drawing that I need. So this might already be familiar to you, but because for today, the goal really is for productivity. So I'm just showing that we can also do this inside BricsCAD. The next thing we want to do is go ahead and open a drawing from this content browser that we used just now. So let's go to a furniture layout probably and just open that. So you can also see there's a preview there that you can use to guide you to which one you want to open. So right now I'll just close the content browser so we can concentrate on this one. So I have here just a furniture layout. It's just a 2D layout, nothing special. It's just some furniture, some chairs and tables, a few walls here and there. So what do we want to do here? What I'm going to show you next is another AI tool that we have inside BricsCAD. It's called Copy Guided. So if I zoom in here, this may be just a couch, a chair, or something in this office, and it's a block reference. So if I wanted to copy this, I would normally have to do a CO, which is copy, and then move it to where I want to move it. I might need to rotate it, which takes a lot of steps for us to do. And where do I want to place this? I might want to place it here. How much do I want to have this away from my wall? And all these things, it takes a lot of steps and time for you to do. It's not difficult, it just is tedious. So what we can do, so I deleted that. What we can do is use Copy Guided. So I'll just click Copy Guided. And I can select my entity, which I want to copy inside the selection window that I'm given. So the entity inside this window is the thing that I want to copy. And whatever I come across here in terms of these lines that I'm crossing right now with my selection window is my guide curve for this one. So once I select this, I am able to copy this entity wherever I want to, as long as it has the same guide curve that I selected on my own as well. So I can do different directions here. And what's good with this is that it can detect the guide curve exactly what you need if this is not the guide curve that you selected, then it won't allow you to copy there. And it selects, it's able to identify a different direction of the guide curve that you used. So I can just place that there. And also it works on actual curves. So this is very, very useful. It's quite amazing actually. When I first saw it as well, I was quite surprised that we are able to do this. So very useful there. Another thing that we can do is to also, let's just go to this area. So let's go to this, and maybe this is something that's a bit different from the rest of your plan. So this is a bit angled here, and if I just zoom in, maybe these are a set of 8 chairs and also 8 tables. So if I wanted to copy this, maybe place them here, what I'll do is maybe copy, and I'll have to copy this direction and move them again upward. And again, it's quite tedious, not difficult, but tedious. So what I can do is inside BricsCAD, we have UCS in 2D, dynamic UCS in 2D, which we can just pick which axis we want, and we can directly do that again. Okay. Yep. So if I just make a rectangle, then happening to my mouse here. It's blinking. Okay, great. Something went wrong with the mouse. So right here, you'll see that the axis has already changed. So if I wanted to copy these, I would just need to directly copy them, and that axis is already the one that's given to me. So I can, again, with the dynamic dimensions that's also provided, just place it where I want to by just typing some numbers that I want. So for example, I wanted to create a different type of table, probably here. Let's see. Let's just accept this dimension. So what happens now is that I want to make sure that this distance is something that's defined by me. So right now it's just random. So it's like 2248.27, which doesn't make sense. So if I want it to be maybe exactly 2000 away from this table on the left side, I can easily just do that and make a change also. So again, productivity tools, efficiency tools that BricsCAD gives us. So that's the nearest distance. So once you select something here, and let's say this line here, it also gives you that distance. So again, you can change that, and very easily shows that you can change all these and you can control your drawing basically. So what this is useful for, I would say very useful in the field would be if you are checking your setbacks. So you have to select one first, and then the second entity you select is the one that's going to be moved. So that's why this wall moved earlier. So yep, I think that's another very useful tip for us that we can use inside BricsCAD. Nearest distance. So we've done copy guided, nearest distance, dynamic UCS on 3D. So let's move on to a bit of dimensioning. And let's put back our UCS on this axis. So if I just want to go into this, maybe I have these windows here. So I'll just go ahead and annotate them. Maybe I want to put some dimensions. So what dimensioning does for us is it lets us pick the entity that we want to have the dimensions of. So here. So maybe this is not exactly the dimension that style that I want. So what can I do there? Let's say I exited that dimension. What can I do there? I can go and just select this and easily change it to another dimension style. if this is something that I prefer. So this dimension style is also just there. And then if I want to do another dimensioning, I can now easily dimension these. Yeah. And another option for us is to continue dimensioning also. We can click on certain points, continue dimensioning as we want. So again, just productivity tools that will help us move along our work. So we touched on dimensions already. So what I want to do now is just to open another type of dialog box that you can control your drawing in. So I'll just bring you to the Explorer. So the Explorer is an amazing thing inside BricsCAD. As you see here, this Explorer has a list of all the drawings that I'm opening. This is drawing 1. So you see that file name there. So all these are here. So let's just move it so you'll see it. Okay. So right now I'm on the furniture layout, which let's go to the dimension styles. You see that there are 2 dimension styles here. And if you want, again, this is quite useful. So if I want to just select these 2 styles and just compare what are the differences between these 2 styles, I can just select them. And you see on the right side, they are now shown side by side, and in blue are the ones that are different in terms of the information or settings inside these dimension styles. So if I want to know only the differences, I can show only differences, and that's narrowed down for me. So again, just another useful tip inside BricsCAD. And if we go inside, and let's just select 1 here. Go back there. All right. So if I go to another drawing, let's say this tank, and I go to dimension style, I see I have a my style. And maybe this my style is something I want to use to another in another drawing, that the one that I had earlier, but I didn't have this style. So what I can do is actually just drag this over to this drawing. And if I go to this setting, I will see that my style of dimensioning is already there. And again, I can do any comparisons that I want inside this Explorer. So this is just one example, just the dimension styles here, but a lot of the information that you want inside your drawing or want to find will be inside this Explorer dialog box for you. So that's Drawing Explorer. And now I am just gonna zoom out a bit. So we changed a bit of things here on this part of our drawing. If you remember, we did the dimensioning as well. So another useful thing inside BricsCAD is drawing compare. So if I can just show you quickly, and what it asks you is maybe you have which drawing you want to compare it to. So for example, you have another layout, another option that someone gave you, you can easily choose that, and it compares it for you and shows you what are the differences. So you see, it has highlighted the differences that we actually did earlier. So this rectangle here, the chairs that we copied here, and it will allow you to select which one you want to keep or anything like this. So that's again a very handy tool for us. So I'll just exit this. Okay. A few options here, if I can just show you quickly. This one, and you can keep the changes, and you can end compare as well. So very easy to use, very visual, and easy to see what the differences are. So what's next? One other thing that you can do inside BricsCAD is to actually give a location, a geographic location to your drawing. For example, you already have your site planning, your master plan in place. What you can do is use geographic location and you will be brought to this dialog, and you can actually just select, maybe choose a location here. Right now I'm in Singapore, maybe I'll choose Singapore, and then click OK, and you'll have a time zone. So time zone has automatically been updated. So you can do all these things. You can set up a lot of the information that you have in terms of geographics. You might also be able to use this later if you decide to do any rendering with your modeling, because as we mentioned earlier, everything is in DWG, right? In BricsCAD. So even modeling is in DWG, BIM is in DWG. So even if you start in 2D, you can still use the information later on when you're modeling, and maybe you have your sun path and all these things, and that's going to be very useful if you're setting this on your classic already in 2D. So let's just exit this. Okay, so again, another recap of the last few things that we have talked about after the last recap earlier. We have Blockify, which is again a very, very useful tool, AI tool there. And then we have our content browser, easy to get your drawings. And then copy guided, nearest distance. We have structure browser, dynamic UCS on 2D. We have dimensioning. We have our drawing explorer, our drawing compare, again, very, very useful, and geographic location. So what do we want to do next? I will just show you a bit of other things, just a few videos, just to show other things that you can use inside BricsCAD. So I'll go back to my presentation and just move us along. So we also have annotative scales. So I'll just play this video. So what annotative scales does is that if, for example, you're already on your layout, you have your viewports, you can easily set your scales from the properties panel. And if you see the dimension style here is also adjusted depending on the scale that you are selecting. So even if you're in the same sheet and then you have different dimensions, different scales from your different viewports, the dimensioning style will be easy to read. You can control how they'll be read. They'll be the same size, the same, if you see the same arrowhead here, the same dimensioning information in terms of this graphic right now, the drawing, but the scale is different, very different. So this is again just something to ease you along with your documentation. As we know, documentation takes so much time for us when we're doing our drawings. So next would be adaptive grid inside BricsCAD. So inside BricsCAD, you'll see that this grid is actually helping you to adjust. For example, when you're zooming, okay. So this grid adjusts as you're zooming in your drawing. So it helps you be more accurate when you are doing your drawings. If you see very quickly, it's very, very fast. It can match the way that you are working with your file. So I just had to repeat that because the video was quite short. And then let's move on to our lisp editor. So I was saying earlier, so if you have a company standard in terms of your list routines, we have a so Blade is our lisp editor, and if you see here, okay, good. So if you see, it's just opening Blade, and then you can edit your lisps already. Go into your lisp script if that's a company standard for you. So here, it's actually a list routine for a specific perspective angle required for this specific drawing. So let's say this is a manufacturing company here trying to see their automotive parts of their manufacturing. So we have just seen that Blade has been opened, and very easily you can just go through your normal routine, what you've been doing inside your list. And if I just go to this part of our video here, it will show us that that car wants to be projected on this specific part of our perspective angle. So you'll see now that list is working correctly inside BricsCAD. And this list, I think we just got it from the internet as well. It's just a random list that has been written. And you can, of course, use whatever you have written in terms of your company standard or whatever workflow that you may have on your side. So lastly, before we go to our +1, we have we are able to import geometry from PDF files. So okay, so very quickly, again, I'll just replay this. So importing geometry in from PDF files inside CAD drawings, as I think we all know how useful this is. You can see that it correctly will identify your entities. You can use those lines already and start doing your drawings. You can see that the text as well has been correctly identified there. So yeah, very useful there. PDF drawings. We receive a lot of PDF drawings from different companies, different consultants. Sometimes there are some agencies as well that are not comfortable giving actual CAD files. So again, this is very, very useful for us in terms of our workflow. You don't have to redraw so many things just to have your drawing, just to get going with what you need to do in your drawing. So lastly, what I want to talk about is the Bricsys 24/7 panel. So this is our +1. So this is 23 + 1, if you remember. So this is the +1 that we want to talk about. So 24/7, as I said, is a cloud-based data, common data environment. You can view, share, annotate, and approve documents and designs. We also have a mobile app for that. But today, I'll just show you very quickly how it looks like and what we can do inside BricsCAD for this. So this is just our CDE environment. I'm just in a demo project right now. And if I go to my folder structure and I get to maybe a technical file here, I have a pressure vessel file, which is actually our tanks that we used earlier. So as you can see, this is version 27 right now on my browser. So our CDE is purely on the browser. You can access it just by any, as long as you have an internet connection. So that's version 27 right here, as you can see. So if I go to my BricsCAD and see this panel, it's a Bricsys 24/7 panel. If I open that and just log in, and just very quickly log in. Okay. And then log in. It brings me to my list of projects. I can go in. I can search the folder that I want to look for. And this is the file that we were talking about just now, pressure vessel. And it's up to date. It tells me that the latest version on the server is version 27, which is correct. That's what we saw earlier. It was uploaded by me. So it's also there who uploaded this file. So if I just double click this, I can immediately access this file. And I can do any change that I might want to do. Like for example, I might want this to be, maybe there was an error in typing this. If it's actually a connection of walls instead of handrails, you can do that there. And then maybe change something else, any information that you might want to change. And then, okay, so let's say you changed it, right? So before you changed it, you might have wanted to lock it. So let's say you locked it. Now, once you lock it, you'll see that there's a lock button. No one can upload a new version in the cloud. So you'll see who you need to coordinate with if you need to coordinate with someone who is locking the drawing. So after this, maybe change whatever you want, and then you can now unlock your drawing if you want to upload it back. Maybe you saved it already and you unlocked it, you want to upload it back. So you just unlock and upload it back. So as you see, now once you want to upload it, it will tell you, is this a draft, a proposal, archive, or anything like this. So I'm just sticking to draft, and then for my description, I'll just put the annotation change, MP2 to MP3, and then I'll upload it quickly, and you see very quickly it's uploading back to your 24/7, and now the unlock button is not there. And if I hover, it tells me that the latest version on the server is now 28. So if you remember, it was 27 before. So if you go back to your browser, and whoever goes to this browser as a fresh window, you'll see that this one is already version 28. So if I was working on this file without even having to go to my 24/7 projects inside the browser, I am able to just access everything on the panel, download it, change it, save it, upload it back, do some annotations, and that's it. So very, very easy. And again, very convenient for us. So of course, this is coming inside BricsCAD as well. That's why I wanted to show it to you. Especially now, in line with the ease of working, especially at this time when teams and team members are working from various locations in different countries. This is very useful. So you can organize all project documents and data with employees, contractors, suppliers, or clients on and offsite and across regions. So I'm going to go back to my slide and just have a summary, and let's finish it off for a while. So I want to go and just show you a bit of what's beyond BricsCAD Classic. So what we talked about today is really just all in Classic. As you can imagine, this is the lowest level of BricsCAD license that you can have. So a lot of functionality is already very useful, but what's more after Classic? There is 3D direct modeling, we have parametric modeling, as I mentioned, we have civil tools, we have point cloud processing as well in the higher licenses. And then there's AI in BIM. So we have AI in our drafting. We also have AI in BIM. And then we have real-time rendering with some applications that are integrated inside BricsCAD. Specifically for this is Enscape. And if you are into computational BIM with Grasshopper, we also have an integrated application for that. And of course, there's so much more that we can do. So basically, this is just to summarize the value proposition of BricsCAD. It's very cost effective. So we did talk about cost today, but if you do a bit of research or if you want to ask some questions regarding that, that's also fine. And you will find that it's very cost effective. It's multi-platform. We have the perpetual licensing as well. It's very short learning curve. As I showed you, I think that's very easy to understand, that you don't have to really go and learn BricsCAD from scratch. You already know what to do with what you've been using over the years. There's a small installer footprint. It's easy to administer and install. It's performance focused. There's a modern code, so it's very light also. Superior memory utilization, superior graphics, advanced multi-threading, API compatible for anyone who wants to do any programming inside BricsCAD and add more functionality to it. And of course, we are compatible with the latest DWG, which is 2021. So, yep, I think this is just a summary of what we talked about today. All the numbers are here, 1 to 23, and then the +1 at the end. I'll just go and invite you to our Bricsys Digital Summit, which is happening on October 27th, 2020. You can register at summit.bricsys.com. So we're looking forward to V21. There's even more functionality to it. Register for free. It's a knowledge sharing, basically. Everyone is welcome. So there's so much more beyond BricsCAD Classic. So in here, you'll understand how Open Design Alliance, Building Smart, Rhino McNeil, and others are partnering with us for a great software for everyone, basically. So I'll just end with this slide. And we feel that BricsCAD is truly the future of DWG, starting with the classic that we discussed today and so much more functionality after that. So this is just my email address again. If there are any questions that you might have after this webinar, you can always email me directly at claire.lee@bricsys.com. So if there are any questions, maybe we can see.
Thank you for the fabulous presentation, Claire. Just wanted to know, we noticed that at the time of the presentation, you were able to maneuver through BricsCAD very smoothly. Could you share a bit more details around how did you do that?
Okay, I'm using the 3D connection mouse. I'm not sure if everyone is aware about 3D connection. I think it's quite popular as well. They have different versions of these mice. It's very good for what we do in terms of drawings, modeling. They also have a space mouse, I believe. It's for 3D, maneuvering around your 3D models, even your BIM models, very smoothly. So it's spelled 3D CONNEXION, 3D connection. If you want to search for it, they're quite easy to search for.
Sure, got it. We will stay online for a couple of more minutes. If you have any questions, please type in or just let us know. Claire will be there online for another few minutes as well to answer your questions. Hi Claire, there is a question from one of the user. Like, can you explain Blockify one more time?
Blockify.
Yes.
Okay. So do they want me to show it again?
Yeah, if you can just very quickly share, either you show it or just explain. I think that is what the person wants to know.
Oh, okay. So I'll just maybe stop at this slide just so everyone can see in general what we've discussed today. And Blockify is number 10 here. So Blockify is basically what Blockify does is creating your blocks depending on the entities that you choose. So it doesn't create the block only based on the specific areas that you've chosen. It will read the entire drawing if you ask it to do that. So these basic geometry, they might be happening all over your drawing, right? You don't know. Sometimes they're scattered around. So if you don't know where they are, and maybe part of your workflow is to have to know how many electrical points there are, and those electrical points might have been exploded in terms of the drawing. So what Blockify does is that based on the geometry that you selected, it will read the entire drawing and find similar geometry that match what you've selected, and it will create a block definition that will be the same for all. So you will have a block, it will name the block, or it will also allow you to name the block as how you want, and then you'll be able to later on isolate it. You can select everything that's the same block. You can isolate. You can count these blocks as well, and yeah, it just makes life easier. Normally, if you have to block something, you have to find each one of those things, and especially if you're not the one who created the drawing, it's very difficult to do that.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that's all for today. If anyone has any questions, please send it to us. Claire has already shared her email address as well. Thank you so much for joining today. And please do look out for the next webinar from Bricsys. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you.